Unseen warriors, unheard voices, and unbroken hearts. Welcome. You stand here today, not by accident, but by the force of everything you have endured. I open to you not with a timid greeting, but with the thunder of solidarity and the resonance of truth. You are not weaker for what you have carried. You are not small because the storm you held within was hidden. You are a force, an unrecognized, misunderstood, yet indomitable force. So listen, they never saw the storm. You were hiding until it destroyed everything they built. The words sting like salt in a wound, yet they carry catharsis, and beneath them lies a simpler, quieter whisper. They never saw the storm you carry. That storm, they thought you sheltered it, had tamed it, or contained it. But storms don't always bow to our will. Sometimes they rise, and sometimes they demand reckoning. You have journeyed through shadowed valleys. You have borne tremors of grief, betrayal, frustration, injustice, disappointment. Those burdens shaped a tempest inside you, and for too long, that storm lay dormant, silently watching, quietly swelling. You smiled when the world demanded your brightness. You whispered when others wanted your voice loud. You accommodated when others insisted you comply. You built bridges across your own suffering, hoping people would walk across and see you. But many never did. They never saw what haunted your nights. They never recognized how your spirit flickered when you thought no eyes would watch. They never perceived that your heart, behind the laughter, was wrestling with devastation. They praised what they saw, the composed face, the diligent performance, the calm veneer. They applauded your capacity to endure, to persist, to shine. But they never knew the storm inside was hungry, restless, demanding release, until it destroyed everything they built. Yes, the foundations they assumed steady trembled. The facades they erected crumbled. The illusions they trusted shattered, because the storm you carried was stronger, deeper, more relentless than they ever believed possible. And they could not contain it, could not predict its magnitude, could not brace themselves for its full unfolding. In their blindness, they forgot one ancient truth. Storms are not governed by consent. Pause. Let that sink. They never saw. They never seemed to know. They never understood. And then the impact came. Some will recoil at this. Some will whisper that destruction is wrong. I do not condone wanton ruin, but I understand the meaning of this metaphor. Your truth cannot be contained forever. Your clarity cannot remain obligated to silence. Your force cannot forever yield to the illusions other people erect. If they build their world on your suppression, on your unseen fury, on your dormant might, they will eventually be undone by their own neglect, by their own lack of perspective, by their own refusal to see what was real. Today, I exhort you, embrace the storm you carry, not as a curse, but as a clarifier. Let it speak. Let it demand justice. Let it dismantle what is false, so that new foundations may be laid. Let it purge what is toxic. Let it define your borders, your worth, your sovereignty. Do not shrink when the winds lash against you. Do not apologize when the thunder rolls. Do not silence yourself when the lightning cracks. Open your resolve. For the storm is part of you. In it lies your courage, your fury, your vision, your reclamation. They never saw, but that does not make you lesser. It means they were never equipped to see. It means they were looking through cracks and mirages while you held a storm that could upend worlds. They never deemed it real. They never diagnosed its weight. They never honored your shadows or your scars. They never believed you had that much power. You did. So rise with the storm. Let it be your solemn testament that silence is not your nature. Let it declare that hidden resistance is not inert. Let it proclaim that what was buried is not dead, only waiting for the precise moment to bloom in strobes of revelation. Yes, carry the weight, but carry it with the intent to transform. That which destroyed their illusions can become your awakening. That which unsettled foundations can become your redemption. That which dismantled their delusions can build your clarity. You must dare to let them see the storm, not so they tremble or cower, but so they recalibrate their vision. Not so they judge, but so they reckon. Not so they cower, but so they understand that your authenticity is your power, not your liability. Do not be afraid that the explosion will obliterate everything. Some things deserve to be undone. Old lies, hollow promises, shaky allegiances, unworthy alliances. Sometimes what collapses was never meant for your future. Let the storm purge. Let the storm purify. Know, when the storm arises, some will be astonished. Some will be terrified. Some will retreat. Some will blame you. Some will accuse you of overreacting, of too much. They will say you should have stayed hidden, remained quiet, or tempered your power to suit their comfort. They will guilt you with silence, with expectations, with their inability to perceive magnitude beyond their narrow frames. Stand firm. Let them cringe at the brightness of your own force. That is their shadow, not yours. Do not dim your lightning because they lack eyes. Do not hush your thunder because their ears cannot register resonance. Do not shrink your presence because their minds have constricted horizons. They never saw the storm. That's their limitation. But now they must witness how real you are. Yes, let the storm unravel their assumptions. Let it dismantle the architecture of false comfort. Let it shake their complacency. Let it waken what they have refused to see, the depth of your integrity, the breadth of your resolve, the magnitude of your soul. When the storm strikes, some will run to rescue what they built. But what they built was built on illusions, on unspoken despair, on your hidden agony. Their structures will not withstand the collapse. Let the false facades fall. Let their expectations crumble. Let every weak pillar snap. Let every deceit be revealed. Let the hidden fractures show. And from the ruin you will emerge, not broken, but renewed. You will salvage what is true. You will breathe life into what is real. You will construct with materials forged in your own wounds, healed into wisdom, tempered into strength. You will no longer carry the storm as a secret. You will carry it as a living testimony to everything you refuse to regret, everything you refuse to bow to, everything you refuse to silence. You will become the blueprint others could not write. You will become the four others could not imagine, because they never saw the storm. But now they must reconcile with its reality. Imagine the faces when they realize it was never about them. It was never about their comfort, or their view, or their complacency. It was about your truth. It was about your reclamation. It was about your sovereignty. It was about your refusal to stay small, so others might feel safe. Now, hear me. The storm is not your enemy. The storm is not your curse. It is your signal. It is the cry of your inner world demanding recognition. It is the watermark of your depth. It is the instrument through which you speak what could not be spoken, compels the ground to listen. It is the reckoning of your hidden chapters. When you let it awaken, it will demand something of you: responsibility, clarity, boundaries, discernment. It will require that you not become indiscriminate in destruction. It will force you to choose what you salvage and discard what is unworthy. It will sharpen your vision for who deserves entrance into your life and who must be distanced. It will refine your capacity for compassion, not softness, because you will know the difference now between what nourishes and what drains. Let the storm be your moral compass. Let it be your authenticity barometer. Let it be your barrier against compromise. Let it be your clarion that says, I will not endure dark pretenses any longer. I will not pretend to the world that my light is casual when it has been born from chaos. Remember, storms are not indefinite. They rage, they roar, they tear, they cleanse, and then they subside. After the thunder, the air is clearer. After the lightning, the world is more exposed. After the deluge, seeds sprout anew. Your storm will recede, and what remains will be the soil of your new world. What remains will be your presence, your alignment, your uncompromised self. What remains will be the people who stayed, and they will stay because they saw you, not what you performed. They saw the storm you carried and chose to stand with it, not flee. What remains will be your vision for a life built from clarity, strength, integrity, fierce love, and purposeful renewal. So walk into the ruins of what they built with your head held high. Walk into the scorched ground, more luminous. Walk into the aftermath, not seeking approval, but offering your truth, wielding your strength, owning your scars. Walk forward, not burdened, but awakened. Walk forward, not moored to the past, but tethered to the clarity of who you are meant to be. And as you walk, know this: others will now see the storm. Others will now grapple with the fact that they underestimated you. Others will now feel the weight of what they ignored. Others will recalibrate their idea of you. Others will look stunned, fearful, respectful. Others will reassess whether they deserve proximity to you. Let them see, let them witness, let them reckon. They never saw, but now they must live with the revelation. Now, for you who listen, let this truth lodge in your marrow, in your sinew, in your midnight resolve. Your storm is not your shame. Your storm is not your defect. Your storm is not a liability. Your storm is your testament. Your storm is your vessel of reclamation. Your storm is your clarifying thunder. Do not bury it any longer in the tomb of they won't understand. Do not hush it with false politeness. Do not hide it under the ash of wrongly applied humility. Declare it. Let it speak. Let it redefine what you permit. Let it guard your borders. Let it burn away illusions. Let it pull you into your own sovereignty. And when you stand, when the storm has done its work, you will know this: you are stronger than silence. You are more potent than suppression. You are freer than fear. You are the author of your own truth. You are the catalyst of your own renaissance. They never saw the storm you carry until it destroyed everything they built. Let them see now. Let them reckon. Let them never doubt again. Let them never assume you smaller than you are. Let them never presume they could manage your spirit. Let them never confuse your silence for weakness again. This is not vengeance. This is not spite. This is reclamation. This is your recalibration. This is your awakening. This is your right. Be the storm. Be the truth. Be the force. And when the tempest quiets, let what remains be unshakable. Let what remains be you, undiminished, unconquered, unashamed, utterly ale. And as the storm settles into a sacred silence, one not of suppression, but of revelation, you will find something you had not expected to find in the wreckage: peace, Not the kind of peace that is granted by the world, not the hollow calm that comes from pleasing others or hiding your pain, but the rare, radiant peace that rises when you finally accept all of yourself. When the storm has spoken and the world has heard, you will walk through the remnants of what once held you captive, words that belittled, promises that bound, roles that restricted, and you will no longer grieve them. You will no longer chase after their approval. The storm has taken what no longer served you. The storm has cleansed what was never meant to stay. And now, in the echo of that great unveiling, you are left not with ruin, but with truth. They never saw the storm, and that is their burden to bear. But you see it now, and you know it. You've walked through fire, danced in the whirlwind, stood still in the eye of your own reckoning, and you did not fall, you did not fade, you did not fracture. You rose. Let them speak. Let them whisper stories to comfort themselves. Let them wonder how they never noticed, never guessed, never prepared. You owe no explanation to those who chose blindness when your soul was screaming for recognition. Your journey is not an apology. It is a declaration. Let every breath you now take be infused with the power of having faced your own shadow. Let every step forward be grounded in the memory that you no longer live under the weight of silence. Let every decision you make now be filtered through this new lens. Does it honor the storm within me? If not, it cannot stay. Because now you know something sacred. You know what it means to hold power within, quietly, patiently, without demanding permission. You know the discipline it takes to contain that magnitude until the right moment arrives. And you know the courage it takes to let it rise, even when the world would rather you kept it hidden. You are not dangerous for carrying this storm. You are not wrong for letting it roar. You are honest, and that honesty, born from the fusion of your rage and your love, your wounds and your wisdom, your shadow and your light, that is what makes you unstoppable. There will be others who see you now and feel discomfort. Good. Let them feel what truth does when it enters a room. There will be those who call you too much, too intense, unpredictable. Smile. They're telling on themselves. They're revealing they were never worthy of the fullness of you. The ones who stay, the ones who meet your eyes now and do not flinch. Those are your people, not the ones who adored your silence, but the ones who respect your thunder. Not the ones who praised your composure, but the ones who stood with you in the tremors. Not the ones who loved your light only, but the ones who walked with you in the storm. Hold your head high. This world needs the ones who no longer fear their own force. This world needs the voices that come from chaos, shaped by pain but aimed at truth. This world needs the storms, not to destroy blindly, but to reset, to purify, to remind us what matters. You are not the villain in this story because you finally spoke, finally shook the ground, finally ended the charade. You are the beginning of a new era, your era, one where you do not dim, one where you do not twist yourself to fit broken spaces, one where you do not filter your soul for others' comfort. The storm you carried was never meant to remain dormant forever. It was not meant to die in silence. It was not meant to rot inside you while the world misunderstood your softness for weakness. It was meant to rise, to remind you of who you are, and to clear the path for everything that comes next. And what comes next? Rebuilding, reclaiming, realigning. You rebuild from truth. You reclaim your story. You realign your path with your true self, not the self they wanted you to be. You stop asking for seats at tables where your voice is unwelcome. You build your own table. You stop knocking on doors that require you to shrink to enter. You build your own house, rooted in your own worth. You stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. You will no longer negotiate your value. You will no longer participate in systems or relationships that cannot withstand your storm. If your presence rattles weak foundations, so be it. If your truth makes others uncomfortable, let it. That is not cruelty. That is growth. You are not here to make others comfortable. You are here to live fully, boldly, awake. You are here to walk in the aftermath of your own transformation and carry the torch forward for those still hiding their storms, for those who haven't yet found the strength to let go. And when they come, those with weary eyes, those with silent storms, they will look at you and find hope, not because you were always perfect, but because you were honest, not because you never broke, but because you rebuilt, not because you never raged, but because you turned your rage into clarity. They will see you and understand that survival is not enough. We are here to thrive. The legacy of your storm will not be destruction, it will be truth. It will be the structures that rise in its place, stronger, truer, realer. It will be the relationships that remain, the ones built on truth, not performance. It will be the dreams that awaken, the ones born from freedom, not fear. They never saw the storm you carry, and that will echo in their memory. But you will no longer carry it as a burden. You will wield it as a banner. You are not the same as you were before. You've tasted your own power. You've felt the walls fall. You've seen what happens when you stop hiding, and you will never go back. Let that be your legacy. Let that be your thunder. Let that be your unshakable truth. That even when they never saw it, even when they never believed it, even when they never respected it, the storm within you rose, and it changed everything. You did not destroy to wound. You destroyed to rebuild. You did not unleash chaos. You released clarity. You did not lose control. You claimed your destiny. And now, in the quiet that follows the storm, you are no longer waiting to be understood. You are the understanding. You are the reckoning. You are the force that broke the illusion and became the truth. They never saw the storm, but they will never forget what followed. Good. You stayed. That means you're not just listening anymore. You're awakening. Because once you've heard the truth in your own bones, once the storm has carved its message into the walls of your soul, you don't go back to who you were. You don't crawl back into the shell. You don't shrink just because someone else flinched at your fullness. You rise differently now, not because you're trying to prove them wrong, but because you finally realize what it means to live right. This moment, right here, this is where you begin again. Not from scratch. No, from power. The power forged in silence. The power cultivated in nights when no one heard your cries. The power grown in all the moments where you kept going while everything inside you screamed to give up. The power that doesn't need applause, doesn't need spotlight, doesn't even need validation. Because this power, your power, was never meant to be seen by everyone. It was meant to be felt when it mattered. That's what the storm is. A force that shifts everything when the time is right. A reminder to the world that you were never meant to be ignored. And now that time has come. You will move through the world differently. You won't speak with timid apologies. You won't wait to be called on. You won't suppress your fire just to warm others who wouldn't even give you a spark in return. You've crossed the threshold. You've faced the breaking. You've endured the silence. You've shattered the illusions. And now, you create. You create from truth, from wisdom, from scars that no longer ache, but glow. Yes, they never saw the storm, but now they see you. And you are the aftermath, the rebirth, the walking evidence that power unexpressed does not mean power non-existent. They tried to define you by the version of you that served them. They labeled you based on the pieces they could understand, but they never asked about the rest. They never asked what it cost to stay quiet. They never wondered what you might become once the restraints broke. But now, the silence has ended. You will not be reduced. You will not be misunderstood without correction. You will not be a ghost in your own life. This next chapter, it belongs to the storm. Forged version of you. Not the polite version. Not the pretend you're oh sheep version. Not the version they celebrated for being easy to handle. Number. This chapter is written in thunder, in presence, in voice, in relentless honesty. You do not need to yell to be powerful. Your very being is now a declaration. The way you walk, the way you hold your space, the way you say no without explanation, the way you protect your peace like it's sacred ground, because it is. You've earned every inch of this clarity, every bit of this unshakable self-trust. You earned it by surviving what they never saw, by holding together what should have fallen apart, by choosing growth when you could have chosen bitterness, by rising again and again without needing them to witness it. But now they have. Now they feel it when you enter a room. Now they second guess how they treated you. Now they realize what they lost when they dismissed you. Now they see the storm and the silence that followed. You are not just the one who endured. You are the one who emerged, transformed, refined, rebuilt. You are the one who refused to vanish. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them try to rewrite the past. You are not there anymore. You've outgrown it. You no longer live where they abandoned you. You no longer shrink to fit the rooms they offered. You've built your own foundation now, and it's rooted in something they never had access to. The storm you carried. That storm taught you more than any comfort ever could. It taught you how to rebuild, how to walk away, how to say enough, how to breathe even when it hurts, how to see people clearly, even when they pretend to be something they're not, how to protect your energy like a sacred resource. It taught you how to lose everything and still rise without bitterness. And most importantly, it taught you how to stop waiting. No more waiting to be rescued. No more waiting to be seen. No more waiting for permission. No more waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself now, every single time. And yes, that will unsettle people. That will offend the ones who only valued you when you were small and silent. That will frustrate those who benefited from your invisibility. Let it. You are not here to be easy. You are here to be real. You are not here to soothe egos. You are here to speak truth. You are not here to stay in the background. You are here to build your own stage. And when people say, "You've changed," smile. Because you did. You changed into the version of you who no longer hides. That version doesn't carry the storm as a burden anymore. They wear it like a crown. Because this, all of this, was never about destruction. It was about release. Releasing the version of you who tolerated too much. Releasing the fear that kept you small. Releasing the lies you told yourself just to survive. Releasing the illusion that your power was dangerous. It never was. It was just misunderstood. Now, you understand it. You felt it. You've walked through fire and come out forged. You've reclaimed your voice, your art, your energy, your worth. And now, with nothing left to prove, you walk forward. Not chasing, not begging, not explaining, not apologizing, just moving with intention, with power, with peace. This is your new foundation, built not from approval, but from truth, built not on old stories, but on radical ownership, built not on fear, but on fire. So to anyone watching now, wondering how you became this, let them know, this is what happens when you stop pretending. This is what happens when you honor your own storm. When you stop asking if you're too much. When you start asking why you accepted so little. When you break the mold and don't go back to clean up the mess. This is what happens when you reclaim your life. And to you, the one still carrying that quiet storm in your chest, the one wondering if it's safe to let it rise. Yes, it is. The world may not be ready, but you are. Because if you've made it this far, you already know. You were never the problem. You were the solution they weren't ready for. You were the truth they couldn't accept. You were the storm they never saw coming. And now that it's come, let it speak. Let it clear. Let it rise. Let it rain. They never saw the storm you carry, but now they will never forget it. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, how it burns them, doesn't it? Your calmness, your poise, your unshaken demeanor, like a dagger to their fragile, inflated ego. You see they can't stand it. They can't stand that you are not moved, that you don't fall into the traps they set for you. They try to provoke you. They want to see you crack. They want to see you unravel. But instead they watch you stand there, indifferent, like an unmoved pillow, while their world crumbles around them. It's almost poetic, really. They have built their lives on false premises, based on the delicate architecture of their narcissism. And when you come along with your indifference, it's as if the whole thing is torn down, brick by brick. And they don't know how to handle it. They've grown accustomed to people bending to their will, to people inflating their fragile sense of superiority with constant validation and praise, and now you come in with your quiet power, your nonchalance, and it shatters them. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It's because you've done everything right. And that's what drives them mad, isn't it? They have spent their lives convincing themselves that they are above everyone else, that they are the center of the universe, and that the world should revolve around them. But here you are, standing there, without the need for their approval, without the desire for their attention, and it eats at them like acid. They cannot grasp it. They cannot comprehend why you don't crave the same validation. They do. Why you don't seem to care about the same things. They've worked so hard to manipulate others into caring about why they cannot make you play their games, why you don't dance to their tune, why your existence seems to effortlessly undermine everything they have ever tried to convince the world about themselves. See, it's not just your actions that bother them, it's your very existence. It's the way you walk into a room and own it without saying a word. It's the way you sit there with a quiet confidence and they feel the crushing weight of their own insecurity press down on them. It's the way you don't get rattled when they throw their tantrums and try to pull you into their drama. You see every time they try to get a rise out of you and fail. Every time they try to manipulate you into reacting and you don't, it feels like a slap to their face and they can't handle it because deep down they know that they're nothing without the attention of others. They know that their entire sense of self is built on a lie. And every time you ignore them, every time you walk past them with that calm, unbothered attitude, it chips away at that lie, piece by piece until there's nothing left but their naked fear. It's the fear of being exposed for what they truly are, fragile, broken souls, desperately clinging to their inflated sense of superiority, because without it, They are nothing. And it's your refusal to play into their delusions that threatens to bring them down to earth. It's your indifference that reminds them of their smallness, their irrelevance, and it eats away at them slowly and steadily until they can't breathe under the weight of their own delusion. Their entire world was constructed on the need for others to inflate their ego. And yet, here you are, simply being yourself, refusing to acknowledge the authority they believe they have over you, and it sends them spiraling. It sends them into a frenzy of self-doubt because they can't make sense of it. They don't understand how someone could exist without needing their validation, without needing their constant approval. And the more you show them that you don't need them, the more they crumble. You see, this is what happens when you refuse to play their game. When you refuse to bow down to their narcissism, they become desperate. They lash out. They try to break you, but they can't, because you've already broken them without lifting a finger. They have built their lives on manipulation and control. They thrive on creating chaos around them to keep people off balance, to keep people seeking their approval and validation. But you are the exception to their rules, and that terrifies them, because they don't know how to control you. They don't know how to bend you to their will, and that is why they fear you. They fear your indifference, because it reveals the cracks in their armor. It reveals the truth that they are nothing more than fragile little people hiding behind a mask of arrogance and self-importance. And every time you stand firm in your nonchalance, you expose their weakness, and that is something they cannot tolerate. It's the ultimate humiliation for them, isn't it? They can manipulate everyone around them. They can twist and turn situations to make themselves the hero. But when it comes to you, they can't get a reaction, no matter how hard they try, and it burns them. It burns them deep because it shows them just how insignificant they truly are in your world. They are nothing to you, and they can't handle that because they need to be everything to everyone. They need to be the focal point of every conversation, every interaction. And when you show them that you are not affected by their narcissistic games, it threatens to pull back the curtain on their entire existence and show the world what they truly are. And they will fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. They will try everything in their power to bring you down, to make you care about them, to make you fall into their trap. But it won't work, because you've already seen through them. You've already understood what they are, and you no longer need their approval to validate your worth. In a way, they are the perfect example of everything that's wrong with a world built on the false pillars of ego and self-obsession. They are the embodiment of a system that rewards manipulation and self-centeredness. And when you refuse to engage with that system, when you choose to remain indifferent to their narcissistic demands, you become a threat to everything they stand for. You become a reflection of everything they fear. You become the living proof that there is another way to live, a way that doesn't rely on feeding the fragile egos of others, a way that doesn't require constant validation, a way that doesn't need to be constantly propped up by the praise and adoration of others, and that scares them to their core. Because let's face it, they are nothing without the attention of others. They are nothing without the constant reinforcement of their own delusions. And when you come along with your calm, unshaken demeanor, it threatens to expose them for what they truly are. People who are terrified of being seen for who they really are. People who cannot exist without the validation of others. People who are desperate for the world to recognize their worth, because deep down, they know that without it, they are hollow inside. And when you refuse to give them what they need, when you refuse to feed into their false sense of self-importance, it's like you've stripped away their armor, and they are left standing there naked and exposed. And that's when the real battle begins, because they will do everything in their power to regain control. They will try to manipulate you. They will try to guilt you. They will try to make you doubt yourself. They will try to make you believe that you are the one in the wrong. that you are the one who is broken, but don't let them. They are the ones who are broken. They are the ones who are fragile. They are the ones who cannot exist without their ego being constantly inflated by others. And when you stand strong in your indifference, you remind them of their weakness, and that's why they can't stand you, because your strength comes from a place they can never reach. And that's why they will always be tripping, and you will always remain untouched, because you have already won. And they are just too lost in their own delusions to see it. So let them trip, let them spiral, let them burn in the fire of their own insecurity, because at the end of the day, it's your calmness, your poise, your ability to stand tall and unshaken that will always have the last laugh. You don't need to prove anything to them. You don't need to engage with their games. You don't need to react to their tantrums, because you know the truth. You know that their ego is nothing but a fragile house of cards waiting to collapse, and you will stand there watching it crumble while you remain steadfast, unbothered, because in the end they will always be tripping, and you will always remain above it all. And so as they stumble over their own inflated egos, as they try desperately to claw their way back into control, remember this: they can never touch you, because they are too busy trying to put themselves on a pedestal. They will never be able to knock you down, because they are too consumed by their own need for validation. And that is the ultimate victory, the one they can never take from you, the one that will burn them from the inside out and leave you standing tall above it all, untouched, unbothered, and untouchable. These words are more than just a state of being. They're a testament to something deeper, something that cuts to the heart of what it means to rise above, to stand firm, to be so unshaken that the world around you seems to distort, to crumble, to buckle under the weight of its own ignorance. When they try to break you, when they try to attack you with their words, their tactics, their false accusations, you stand, and you stand tall. They don't know how to process that, do they? They've been trained their whole lives to see strength as a flashy thing. Strength to them means being loud, being brash, being the loudest in the room, the one who demands attention. They've been raised to believe that strength is something that should be seen, celebrated, worshipped. But real strength, true strength, is quiet. It's invisible to them. It's the kind of power that doesn't need validation. It doesn't need to be acknowledged or praised. You don't shout to make yourself known. You don't scream to prove your worth. You exist with such quiet confidence that they feel threatened just by your presence, and in their weakness, they lash out. But you are untouchable. When their world collapses under the weight of their own false assumptions, when their fragile egos crack and crumble, they try to pin it on you, don't they? They accuse you of being the one who doesn't care, the one who's detached, the one who's indifferent. But in truth, what they fear is not your indifference. It's the mirror you hold up to them, the way you stand unmoved, the way you exist without needing their approval or their praise. You are the reflection of everything they have tried so hard to suppress, the truth that their ego is nothing but an illusion. Their world was built on the need to control, to dominate, to dictate, and yet here you are, a force of nature that doesn't even acknowledge their rules. They need you to react. They need you to engage with their chaos. When they push you, when they try to provoke you, they expect you to flinch, to scream, to try and defend yourself. But you don't. You stand there, eyes unwavering, with a calmness that drives them insane. Your silence is louder than any words they could hurl your way. And in that silence, they hear the truth. They hear their own inadequacies, their own insecurities. They hear the whispers of their ego cracking of the foundations of their entire existence trembling beneath them. The world around them thrives on chaos, on the constant noise of validation, on the constant need to be recognized. Their identity, their sense of self, depends on the approval of others, on the acknowledgement that they are worthy of attention, worthy of admiration. And when you refuse to engage, when you refuse to feed that hunger, it's as if they are starving, and they don't know how to cope with that hunger. They don't know how to exist when the spotlight is no longer on them. And in their desperation, they lash out. But it won't work. It never does. Because you are untouched, you are unbothered. The truth is, they don't understand strength. They don't understand that real power doesn't need to be flaunted. It doesn't need to be paraded around for the world to see. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your power lies in your ability to remain calm, to remain still in the face of their chaos. It lies in your ability to rise above the petty drama, the manipulation, the deceit, and still stand firm in your own truth. They want you to doubt yourself. They want you to question your worth. They want you to beg for their approval. But you know something they'll never understand. Your worth has never depended on them. It never will. When they see you, they see a reflection of everything they could never be. And it stings. It cuts them deep. Because they know, deep down, that their entire existence is built on lies. They tell themselves that they are above everyone else, that they are more important, more valuable. But you are living proof that they are wrong. You are a living, breathing embodiment of everything they fear. Someone who doesn't need their approval. Someone who doesn't need to be validated. Someone who stands alone, untouched, untouchable. And that terrifies them. So they try to manipulate you. They try to twist your words, twist your actions, twist your intentions. They'll accuse you of being cold, of being heartless, of being indifferent. But that's not the truth. The truth is, they cannot stand the fact that you don't need them. They cannot stand the fact that you are not playing by their rules. They cannot stand the fact that you are above it all. And so, they will do anything they can to pull you down, to bring you into their world of drama and chaos, to make you feel as small and insignificant as they do. But it won't work. Because you are untouched, you are untouchable. Every time they try to break you, every time they try to provoke you, they fail. They fail because you are impervious to their games. You are immune to their tactics. You are unbothered because you know that their power is fleeting, that their influence is temporary. They need you to care. They need you to play along with their sick, twisted dance of manipulation. But you refuse. You stand firm, unshaken, unmovable. And with every passing day, their grip on reality weakens, their confidence falters, their ego shatters. And all the while, you stand there, untouched, unbothered, untouchable. There's a beauty in this silence, in this stillness. It's a power that transcends words, that transcends actions. It's a power that speaks for itself, that demands nothing but commands everything. It's the power of self-assurance, of knowing who you are, of knowing your worth without needing to prove it to anyone. And they cannot stand it. They cannot stand that you are not like them. They cannot stand that you don't need them. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need their praise. And that, my friends, is the ultimate victory. Because while they are tripping, while they are desperately trying to hold on to their crumbling ego, you are already long gone. You've already moved on. You've already ascended beyond their petty games, beyond their need for constant validation. You've already walked away from their chaos, and now you stand alone, untouched, unbothered, untouchable. And that is the power they will never have. That is the power they will never understand. And that, my friends, is what will ultimately break them. When you walk away, When you turn your back and refuse to engage, that's when they are truly defeated. They don't realize it in the moment, of course. They're so consumed with their own insecurities, their own inflated ego, that they believe their power lies in controlling others, in making others bend to their will. But you're the exception. You're the one they can't control. You're the one they can't manipulate. You're the one they can't provoke into submission. And that terrifies them. Because deep down, they know the truth. Their entire existence is built on a lie. It's built on the belief that they are the center of the universe, that everything and everyone should revolve around them, that they are worthy of admiration and respect without ever having to earn it. But you see through that lie, and when you turn away, when you show them that they are nothing to you, it exposes the cracks in their armor. It reveals their weakness, their fragility. They cannot exist without their ego. They cannot stand to be alone, to be ignored, to be rejected. Every moment they are not the focus of attention is a moment they feel like they are vanishing, disappearing into the void. And that is the greatest fear they have, being nothing. But you don't need them. You don't need to constantly seek out their approval, their praise, their recognition. You don't need them to validate your worth, and that is what cuts them the deepest. When you withdraw your energy from them, when you stop feeding their insatiable need for validation, you expose their core, you expose their truth, and they can't handle it. They will fight to keep you in their orbit. They will try to manipulate you, to guilt trip you, to make you feel like you owe them something. They will try every tactic in the book to bring you back into their world of chaos and control, but it will never work, not on you. Because you've already seen through them. You've already recognized their weaknesses. You've already learned that their power is built on lies, on manipulation, on the fragile ego that is held up by the attention and approval of others. You know their game, and you refuse to play it. And that refusal, that simple act of rejecting their demands, of walking away without a second thought, is what will break them. You see, it's not your anger that hurts them. It's not your confrontation, your words, or your actions. It's your indifference. It's your refusal to engage. Because when you walk away, when you stop caring, it forces them to confront the reality that they are nothing without the validation of others. It forces them to look in the mirror and see the emptiness beneath the facade. It forces them to realize that they have spent their lives building a house of cards, and the slightest breeze, your indifference, could bring it all crashing down. That's when the panic sets in. That's when the cracks in their armor begin to widen. Because they don't know how to exist without their inflated sense of self-worth. They don't know who they are without the approval of others. They've spent their entire lives convincing themselves that they are superior, that they are above everyone else, and that they are entitled to respect and admiration simply because they exist. But you've shattered that illusion. You've taken away their power, their ability to control and manipulate, and they can't stand it. They don't know what to do when they can't make you react. They don't know what to do when they can't provoke you, when they can't drag you into their web of lies and chaos. They will try everything: flattery, guilt, anger, even threats. But nothing will move you. They will throw everything they have at you, but it will all bounce off because you are impervious to their tactics. You are unshaken, unmoved. You are untouchable. And that is the ultimate power. It is not the power to dominate, to control, or to manipulate. It is the power to remain calm, to remain centered, to remain unaffected by the noise and the chaos around you. It is the power to stand firm in your truth, to walk your path without needing anyone's approval or validation. It is the power to be your authentic self without fear, without hesitation, without doubt. And that, my friends, is the power that breaks them, because they cannot understand it, they cannot comprehend it, and they never will. They will try to paint you as cold, as heartless, as indifferent, but the truth is, they are the ones who are cold. They are the ones who are heartless. They are the ones who are indifferent to the needs and feelings of others. They are the ones who have spent their lives pretending to be something they are not, hiding behind a mask of arrogance and superiority because they are too afraid to confront their own flaws, their own insecurities. They need others to believe in their lies because without that belief, they have nothing. But you don't need their lies. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need them. And that is why they will always be beneath you. They will always be chasing, always scrambling, always trying to keep up. But you will always be a step ahead because you know the truth. You know that true power comes from within, not from external validation. You know that true strength comes from being at peace with who you are, from standing in your truth without fear of what anyone else thinks. And so, as they spiral, as they grasp at straws, as they try desperately to regain control, remember this: they are already defeated. Their need for validation, their fragile ego, their constant quest for attention is what will ultimately break them. You, on the other hand, are untouched. You are unbothered. You are untouchable. And no matter how hard they try, they will never be able to break you because you are beyond their reach. The more they struggle, the more they reveal their weakness. The more they try to bring you down, the more they expose their own fragility. And eventually, they will crumble under the weight of their own insecurity, their own lies, their own need for validation. And when they do, you will be there, standing tall, standing firm, standing untouchable. Because while they were busy building a fragile empire based on manipulation and deceit, you were building something far stronger, a life based on authenticity, on inner strength, and on the power of simply being yourself. And that, my friends, is something they can never take from you. No matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, they will never have the power to destroy what you have built. Because you're untouchable. In the end, it's simple. They will always trip. They will always struggle to maintain the illusion of control, because their power was never real. It was built on fragile lies, on the need for constant validation. But you stand unshaken, untouched, untouchable. You don't need their approval, their praise, or their manipulation. And that is where your true strength lies, the ability to remain steadfast, indifferent, and unapologetically yourself. You have already won, because in their desperation to control, they've shown you exactly who they are, and that is a victory they will never understand. Your calm is your weapon, and it will be what breaks them every time. They never saw you coming. You entered their world quietly, not because you were weak, but because you were patient. You observed, you endured, you absorbed every cold stare, every silent dismissal, every lie whispered behind your back. You stood still, even as their shadows tried to drown your light. But now the tide has turned. The storm is yours to command, and the silence they once used against you is now the silence they fear. This moment right here, this is the moment where they realize that what they tried to bury was a seed. You were never meant to fit into the small cages they built for you. You were never meant to walk with bowed head or folded spirit. But they tried to contain you. Oh, they tried. They labeled you with their fears, not knowing those same labels would one day become the very chains you would shatter. Every time they mocked your dreams, they planted something dangerous inside you. Every doubt they cast was a spark to your fire. And now they're starting to feel the heat. They're starting to realize you weren't silent because you were scared. You were silent because you were sharpening your edge. You see, power doesn't always scream. True power watches, waits. It learns the rhythm of the enemy's breath, the weight of the room, the cracks in the armor. You let them dance in the illusion of control while you carve truth into your bones. And now the ground beneath them trembles with the force of your awakening. They underestimated your patience. They thought time would make you disappear. But time has only made you dangerous. They fed your hunger with cruelty, and now they're being devoured by the very storm they summon. Let them remember this. You didn't rise by accident. You rose because the pain demanded it. You rose because silence became unbearable. You rose because something inside you, ancient, unstoppable, untamed, refused to die. You rose not with revenge, but with purpose. And that purpose burns brighter than any fire they could have ever imagined. They pushed you too far, and now they are tasting the consequences of waking something they cannot put back to sleep. They thought you were fragile because you carried your wounds like armor. They thought you were weak because you chose peace over chaos. But now they know. Peace was never weakness. It was restraint. It was discipline. It was the storm held behind the dam. And now the dam is breaking. They pushed, and now the flood is coming. Not to destroy, but to reclaim. Every inch of your worth, every ounce of your voice, every drop of the power they tried to suppress, it's all coming back, multiplied, magnified, unshakable. And what's most terrifying to them isn't your anger, it's your clarity. You're no longer confused about your value. You're no longer doubting your place. That terrifies them more than any scream could, because a person who knows who they are is unstoppable. You're no longer looking for permission. You're no longer asking to be seen. You are not rising to prove them wrong. You are rising to fulfill what was always within you. That's the difference. That's what they never calculated. They thought you'd fight for scraps. But you were never hungry for approval. You were always meant to own the whole table. They feel it now, the shift, the cold truth washing over them like a slow, relentless tide. They remember every moment they dismissed you, every time they smirked when you stumbled, every door they slammed, thinking it would stop you. But you weren't looking for open doors. You were becoming the storm that doesn't knock, it breaks through. And now that you're here, now that you've arrived, they're scrambling, they're retreating. But it's too late, because this power, the one they feared, the one they tried to dim, isn't borrowed. It's not temporary. It's not a phase. It is yours. It came from your struggle, from your scars, from the darkness you made your home until the light was ready. It's forged in silence, tempered in pain, and now it rises, pure, undeniable, merciless in its purpose. You are not here to take part. You are here to take over, to reclaim your space, to rise in the fullness of what they could never understand. They underestimated your resilience. They thought you were just another name they could forget. But you are the echo they can't silence, the force they can't tame. You are the nightmare of every fake smile and broken promise. Not because you seek revenge, but because you embody truth. And truth has no mercy for lies. You didn't just survive their world, you outgrew it. And now, they're left to watch helpless, as you ascend into a realm they can never reach. They see you now, but it's not the version they remember, the version they tried to box in and shut down. No, This version of you is unrecognizable to them because you have become something they cannot define and something they cannot control. You walk now with a silence that shakes their confidence, not because you speak less, but because your presence says everything. And in that silence, they hear the truth. They tried so hard to bury you. And now, they walk in the garden. You grew from their ashes. They never expected you to learn. They thought every fall would break you, but you turned every failure into fire, every betrayal into bricks, and every insult into iron. You built yourself piece by piece in the dark corners where no one clapped, where no one watched. And now that you've emerged, they stare. Not because they admire you, but because they fear what they created in their ignorance. You are the consequence of their cruelty and the masterpiece of your own pain. And let them remember, this wasn't luck. It wasn't given to you. It wasn't inherited. This power was earned through nights of silence and days of pretending to be okay. Earned through battles no one saw, and wars you fought alone. This isn't just success. This is justice. This is nature correcting itself. This is the universe giving you back what was always meant to be yours, but delayed by the hands of those who couldn't see past their own pride. They whispered about you behind closed doors, thinking their voices would never reach you. But the truth has a strange way of traveling. It grew wings. It reached your ears. And instead of breaking you, it built you. They thought their words were poison, but your spirit turned them into fuel. Every rumor, every insult, every moment of exclusion became bricks on your path. And now, that path has become a throne. There is no satisfaction greater than rising without needing to shout, because your success now speaks the language they never bothered to learn. You don't need to scream. You don't need to convince the world anymore. You don't need to argue with anyone who still sees the old version of you. Your existence now is the loudest answer to every question they ever asked about your worth and your silence. Now is not emptiness. It is proof that you have become more than they can understand. They are paying the price, not because you wish them harm, but because the universe responds to balance. And when they broke you, they disrupted something ancient, something eternal. And now, that balance is restoring itself through you, through your eyes, through your voice, through your fire. The ones who underestimated you are now learning that a sleeping giant is never a myth. It is only a matter of time. And you carry the weight of what they did not just to you, but to every version of yourself that had to pretend to be smaller, to be accepted, to every version that had to dim its own brilliance to be safe. And now that weight has transformed into wings. Wings made of scars, wings made of truth. And now you rise, not in spite of them, but because of everything they put you through. Your flight is the proof that pain has purpose. They thought your silence was surrender. They never imagined it was strategy. You were never hiding. You were healing. You were never broken. You were building. And every second they thought you were lost. You were actually finding yourself piece by piece, breath by breath, moment by sacred moment. You were becoming the storm that now stands before them without apology, without fear, without hesitation. There's something about quiet power that terrifies people more than rage, because rage can be dismissed, but presence cannot be ignored. And now your presence is felt in every room they enter, because they know they lost the game. They didn't even realize they were playing. They thought they held the pen to your story, but you took it back and rewrote the ending without needing to explain. They pushed you too far, thinking your spirit had a breaking point, but they never understood that pressure creates diamonds and fire tempers steel. You were never meant to stay small, and they were never meant to define you. Their mistake was thinking they could measure your future with the limits of their own imagination. And now they are witnessing what happens when a soul refuses to be contained. And here you are standing where they said you'd fall speaking, where they tried to silence you, building where they tried to destroy walking paths. They said you'd never find, and thriving in places. They said you'd never belong because you refused to become bitter. You chose to become better. And that choice is what they never saw coming. They're watching now as you rise without permission, without validation, without asking for their approval. They thought your strength would fade, but you only grew stronger in the waiting. They thought your power would disappear, but it only rooted itself deeper in the ground beneath your feet. And now that power has become unshakable, unbreakable, undeniable. You are not here to seek revenge. You are here to reclaim every part of yourself that they tried to erase. You are here to rebuild, not just for yourself, but for every soul, watching in silence, hoping to rise. As you did, you are proof that pain does not get the final word. You are proof that underestimation is not a sentence, it is a spark, and they lit that spark with every insult, every rejection, every betrayal. And now that flame has become a fire, not to burn, but to illuminate. And in that light, the truth can no longer be denied. You are the storm they mocked until it arrived. You are the wave they laughed at until it broke the shore. You are the force they ignored until it became too powerful to deny. And now that power speaks not in anger, but in certainty, not in noise, but in impact, not in vengeance, but in evolution. This is not about ego. This is not about revenge. This is about truth, finally being louder than the lies. This is about the strength that lives in silence and the fire that lives in patience. This is about becoming what they said you never could, because you believed when no one else did, and you rose when no one else thought you would. And now they must live in the shadow of the very light they tried to put out. Because you are not just rising, you have already risen, and the air is different up here. The weight is different. The view is different. And now they can only watch as you soar past every limit they tried to place on you. Not with hate in your heart, but with power in your step and peace in your soul. And that is what terrifies them most, because they didn't just lose control. They lost their place in your story. And this time, you're not stopping. This time, you're not shrinking this time. You're not asking. You're taking back everything they said was beyond your reach. Not out of revenge, but out of truth. Out of destiny, out of purpose. Because they pushed you too far, and now you are everything they feared and everything they could never be. They wake now with your name in the back of their mind, not as a whisper, but as a weight. Because they remember what they did and what they didn't, and what they said and what they didn't, and how they laughed and how they looked the other way when you were crumbling. And now their silence has turned to regret, because what they once thought was weakness has become your weapon, and what they once mocked has become your momentum. There is no mercy in the truth, and you now carry that truth in your eyes, in your hands, in your voice. And that truth confronts them without needing to speak a word. They see it in the way you stand taller, in the way you no longer ask, in the way you no longer seek their acceptance, because something inside you has shifted, something permanent, something sacred. You've stepped into the version of yourself that doesn't need explanation, because it was born in places they were too afraid to go. You walked through fires they couldn't survive. You carried burdens they couldn't see you, swallowed pain they couldn't name. And yet here you are, not burned, but forged, not broken, but reborn. and now your existence becomes a mirror. They cannot escape, because when they look at you, they see the cost of what they did and the glory of what they failed to stop. They pushed you too far and they thought you would disappear, but instead, you expanded. Instead, you evolved, and now they face the truth that you were never their puppet, never their toy, never their casualty. You were always a weapon sleeping. You were always a storm, waiting. You were always a kingdom hidden in flesh and bone. And now that kingdom is rising brick by brick, moment by moment, scar by sacred scar. They underestimated your soul, and that was their fatal miscalculation. They measured your power in temporary struggle, not knowing that power like yours grows in shadows. It grows in silence. It grows when no one claps, and now it has grown beyond what their minds can grasp. And that growth is irreversible, unstoppable, undeniable. You are not angry. You are focused. You are not vengeful. You are ascended. You are not here to fight them. You are here to leave them behind, because your journey is no longer about proving them wrong. It is about proving yourself right. It is about becoming everything they said you couldn't, not for applause, but for alignment, not for revenge, but for redemption. And your redemption is not loud. It is lasting. They didn't just underestimate your power. They underestimated your patience. They didn't realize that you were playing the long game, that every time they tried to break you, you were learning their patterns, that every wound they inflicted became a map that led you back to yourself. And now you walk with a clarity. They cannot match a vision. They cannot steal a strength. They cannot copy. They built their comfort on your silence, and now your voice has become their reckoning, because you're not the same anymore. You're not pretending. You're not waiting. You're not holding back. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand. And now you carry a stillness that shakes mountains and a fire that does not burn out. You have become the storm that chooses where to rain and where to rise. You have become the dawn that does not ask permission to shine. And now you walk through doors they tried to close, wearing the very scars they gave you, like armor, like victory, like prophecy fulfilled. And in that fulfillment, there is no room left for apology. They pushed you too far, thinking your spirit had boundaries, but they didn't know you were built without limits. They didn't know that your heart, once broken, has become a compass, and your soul, once silenced, has become an anthem. And your presence now disrupts the comfort they built from your pain. Let them carry that weight. Let them feel that silence. Let them watch as you do what they said was impossible, not because you owe them proof, but because your existence is proof enough. You've become the evidence. They can't erase the chapter. They can't rewrite the outcome they never saw coming. You are no longer chasing what was taken. You are creating what can never be taken. You are becoming the source, not the seeker, the origin, not the echo. And that shift is your liberation, your rebellion, your rise, because you were not born to be accepted. You were born to be awakened. And now that awakening moves through every step you take, every word you speak, every breath you own. And they feel it. They fear it. Not because you hate them, but because you've outgrown them. And nothing unsettles the world more than a soul that has outgrown its cage. They pushed you too far, and now they have to live in the world. They created a world where you no longer need them, where you no longer flinch, where you no longer ask. And that world is built on your resilience, on your refusal to stay buried, on your decision to rise without waiting for the world to be ready, because they were never going to be ready for you. They were never going to welcome your truth, your brilliance, your defiance. And so you carved your way through the silence, through the resistance, through the rejection. And now, your path is yours and yours alone. They underestimated you because they mistook your humility for weakness and your empathy for softness and your silence for surrender. But you were never weak. You were wise. You were never soft. You were strategic. You were never silent. You were saving your breath for the right moment. And now that moment has come, and the weight of it cannot be denied. This is not your revenge. This is your rebirth. This is not your retaliation. This is your rise, and it is more powerful than anything they could have imagined, because it does not seek to harm. It seeks to heal, not them but you. And in that healing, you've become untouchable, unshakable, unforgettable. They tried to define you and failed. They tried to diminish you and failed. They tried to delay you and failed. And now you've become the truth. They can't avoid, and the force they can't defeat. Not because you're cruel, but because you're clear. And clarity is more dangerous than rage ever was. You no longer need to shout your name through the noise. You've become the signal in the chaos, the fire in the cold, the answer in the silence. And as you rise, they fall. Not because you pulled them down, but because they never built anything real. Only illusions. And now those illusions have crumbled under the weight of your reality. You are here, not as a survivor, but as a sovereign. Not as a wounded soul, but as a warrior crowned in light and shadow. And every step forward is a declaration not of what they did to you, but of what you chose to become, despite them and beyond them. And now you walk with a peace they can't understand, because peace is the prize for those who choose power with purpose, and fire with focus, and love without limits. And you have chosen all three, not because you were given the tools, but because you became them. You are the weapon they never saw, and the vision they never believed. And now their disbelief has become their regret. And your belief has become your foundation, because when they pushed you too far, they didn't break you. They built you. They pushed you too far. And now, what stands before them is not a version of who you were, but the realization of everything you were always meant to become. They are not looking at the person they tried to break. They are looking at the force they unknowingly awakened. And there is no turning back now. No apology that can undo the fire. No words that can reverse the transformation. They thought the breaking would be your end, but it was only your beginning. You carry something now that can't be taken from you. Something more powerful than revenge, more powerful than applause. You carry knowing. You carry truth. You carry peace. And in that peace is the loudest message of all, because when the storm calms and the dust settles and the world gets quiet again, you're still standing and they are still remembering. Let them remember, not your anger, but your rise. Let them remember, not your tears, but your triumph. Let them remember the silence that followed your fall and the roar that followed your return, because your name now echoes through the halls. They tried to close your shadow, now stretches over the places they said you'd never reach, and your voice now rings louder than every lie they ever told in your absence. They underestimated your power because they measured you by what they could see, but they never understood that what was most powerful about you was unseen. They couldn't see your will. They couldn't see your faith. They couldn't see the fire that burned in your soul through every dark night and lonely morning. They didn't see the moments when you chose to hold on, when everything told you to let go. And now those invisible moments have become your legacy. You are no longer just a survivor of what they did. You are a builder of something far greater, because while they were trying to stop you, you were learning to create. While they were laughing, you were learning to lead. While they were hoping you would quit, you were becoming someone who cannot be shaken. And now they face the weight of their own disbelief. They thought they could write you off, but you rewrote the entire script. They thought they could count you out, but you became the one they cannot stop speaking about. Not because you demanded their respect, but because you no longer needed it, and in that detachment you became dangerous, not to them, but to every system that tried to contain you. Now your very presence disrupts their comfort, not through violence, but through victory, because there is nothing more unsettling to those who once had power over you than the sound of your peace, than the sight of your calm, than the strength of your composure, because they know deep down this is no accident. This is what they created, and this is what they lost. They watched you fall, and they laughed, but they weren't watching closely enough, because even as you fell, you were rising inside. Even as you broke, you were building again. Even as you stayed quiet, you were becoming something they could not imagine. And now that you have arrived, they are speechless, not because they respect you, but because they fear what they missed. You are no longer the person looking for a seat at their table, because you have built your own, and your table does not wobble at the sound of mockery. Your table does not shrink in the presence of doubt. Your table stands firm, carved from the wood of every door. They slammed in your face, and it holds the weight of every truth they tried to deny. And now you speak not with desperation, but with destiny, not with revenge, but with revelation, because you know who you are, and no one can take that from you. Now, no opinion can rewrite it, no silence can erase it, no doubt can undo it. And the very things they used to define you have become irrelevant, because you are not defined by the battles you fought. You are defined by the fire you walked through and the strength you now command. They pushed you too far, and in doing so they delivered you to the truth. And now they cannot stop what's coming, because you are what's coming, not as a wave of noise, but as a tide of impact, not as a flash of rage, but as a steady force. And it's that steadiness that shakes them, because they know. Now, this is not a phase. This is forever. This power is not something you wear. It is something you have become, and it radiates from you. In every step, in every breath, in every glance, you no longer seek to convince them, because their doubt is irrelevant to your destiny, and their rejection is too small for the places you're going. Let them talk. Let them watch. Let them wonder, because you are not here for them anymore. You are here for the ones watching in silence, the ones holding their breath, the ones with fire in their bones and doubt in their hearts. And to them, you say this: it's possible. Not because someone gave you a chance, but because you took one, because you refused to stay small, because you chose to rise even when no one was clapping. You are the proof that pain has a purpose, and pressure has a plan, and silence has strength. You are the proof that being pushed too far doesn't break you. It builds you, and what they failed to destroy has now become unstoppable and unshakable and unforgettable. This is not just a comeback. This is a crowning. This is not just a return. This is a reign, and the price for underestimating you will echo long after this moment, because you didn't just win. You became. You became the fire they couldn't put out. You became the voice they couldn't silence. You became the storm they couldn't run from. You became the truth they can no longer deny. And from this moment forward, you don't just walk, you lead. You don't just rise, you elevate. You don't just survive, you transform, because they pushed you too far. And now you are everything they said you'd never be, everything they feared you would become, and more. They underestimated your power. Now, they're paying the price. So they thought it was over. Did they? They walked away with that smugness, that arrogance dripping from their every step. They'll miss me, they whispered to themselves as they turned their backs on the inevitable. Yet little did they know, The pain they felt had only been a taste, a forewarning, a mere glimpse of the storm that was about to rage through their souls. They were naive to believe that it would simply vanish, that the torment that had consumed them would loosen its grip and let them go free. But that was their first mistake. They thought they had conquered their demons, but in reality, they had only just stepped into the arena where true suffering awaited them. They mistook the lull in the chaos as the end of it all, when it was merely the calm before the relentless fury would sweep through their lives. Like an unstoppable tide, they had no idea what they were truly up against, no idea of the depth of darkness that would soon envelop them, and they would soon learn that it's not the end of the game that matters. It's the price you're willing to pay to survive it. You thought the pain was all you could bear, didn't you? You thought you reached the limit of your endurance, but you were wrong. You've barely scratched the surface of the trials that await you, because now the real challenge begins. The torment you feel now is nothing compared to the crucible that lies ahead. You thought you could break free, but all you've done is step into a new chapter of your suffering. This world, this life doesn't care about your pleas for mercy, your desire for respite. It will grind you down until you're nothing but a shadow of your former self, until the fire that once burned brightly in your heart is nothing but a flickering ember, slowly dying in the wind. But that's when the game truly starts, when the pain becomes your only companion, when the suffering is no longer a visitor, but a constant presence that will never leave your side. Don't you see it? This is your path now. You can fight it for a while, pretend that you're still in control, pretend that you can outrun it. But the truth is, you're already caught in its grasp. The pain won't end, no matter how many times you try to escape it. No matter how far you run, it will follow you, drag you back to the dark corners of your mind, where the demons wait to tear you apart, piece by piece. The moments of relief you've had, the moments where you thought you could breathe again, they were nothing but fleeting illusions designed to lull you into a false sense of security. They were a cruel joke played by a world that finds pleasure in watching you stumble and fall. You were given a taste of freedom, only to have it snatched away, leaving you craving more, while knowing deep down that it's nothing but an unattainable mirage. You're tired of the pain, aren't you? You're exhausted from the constant barrage of suffering and disappointment. But let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how tired you are, because you'll never escape this game. You'll never escape the suffering that's been set in motion the moment you thought you could outrun it. There is no end to it, no final destination where you can rest and recover, no place where you can lay down your burdens and say it's over. You might as well accept it now, because the only thing that awaits you is the next wave, the next test, the next cruel twist of fate that will break you down even further than before. The more you resist, the more you fight against it, the harder it will come for you, and the deeper the wounds will go. The only way to survive this is to embrace it, to accept that this is your reality now, and you will have to endure it no matter what. The game is only just beginning, and you don't even realize the depths of the abyss you're about to fall into. The suffering you're feeling now is just the beginning, just the warm-up. It's like the first few seconds of a long and grueling battle where the odds are stacked against you from the start, and you have no choice but to keep fighting, even though you know the end is far from sight. You will be pushed to your breaking point over and over again, forced to make choices that will haunt you for the rest of your life, decisions that will tear at the very fabric of who you are. And yet, there will be no one to help you, no one to guide you through the darkness. You will be alone in this struggle, trapped in your own mind, with no way out except forward. You might beg for mercy, you might cry out for a way to end it all, But the truth is, no one will come to your aid because the world has no mercy for the broken, no compassion for the defeated. You're on your own in this fight, and you'll have to find the strength within yourself to keep going. So you think you're tired of the pain now? Wait until the real suffering begins. Wait until the game gets harder and harder, until it feels like there's nothing left of you but a hollow shell of the person you once were. You will be tested in ways you never thought possible. Your will be shattered. Your resolve will be bent until it snaps in two. You'll question everything you thought you knew about yourself, about the world around you, and you will come face to face with the darkest parts of your soul. And when you reach that point, when you've lost everything, when there's nothing left but the unbearable weight of your own suffering, that's when you'll realize just how small you really are, just how insignificant your struggles have been in the grand scheme of things. You'll realize that your pain, your suffering, it doesn't matter to anyone else. No one will care how much it hurts. No one will care how broken you are. The world will keep turning, and you'll keep hurting, and there will be nothing to stop it. The game is never over until you've paid the ultimate price. But there is one thing you must understand. There is power in pain. There is strength in suffering that most people never discover because they're too busy running from it, too busy trying to find ways to escape it. But you don't have that luxury. You are going to be forged in the fires of this suffering. You are going to become something more than you ever imagined you could be, because pain is not the end, it's the beginning. It is the crucible in which your true self will be revealed. And when the dust settles, when the smoke clears, you will stand tall, and you will realize that you have survived something that would have destroyed anyone else. You will emerge from this suffering a warrior, a survivor, someone who has stared into the abyss and lived to tell the tale. But only if you can endure it, only if you can face the pain head on and keep moving forward when every instinct tells you to collapse, when every part of you screams for relief, you will find the strength to keep going, because that's what this is about, surviving when it seems impossible and proving to the world that you will not be broken no matter how hard it tries. They thought it was over. They thought the worst was behind them. But what they don't realize is that they've only just begun the journey through hell. The pain, the suffering they're facing now is nothing compared to the darkness that awaits them. But it's also the very thing that will give them the power to rise again. It's a double-edged sword at this game of suffering, because while it will tear them apart, it will also shape them into something stronger, something more dangerous. The weak will fall. The faint of heart will give up. But the ones who can endure the pain, the ones who can look it in the eye and say, "I will not surrender," they will be the ones who emerge victorious. And so the game continues. The suffering escalates, and only the strongest will survive, but not without sacrifice. This isn't some easy victory, some quick escape. No, to survive this, you will have to give pieces of yourself, the things you once thought made you whole. You'll be tested in ways that will leave scars deep within your soul. The world doesn't care about your pain, your suffering, your desire for peace. All it cares about is whether you can keep moving, whether you can keep going when the weight of the universe seems to press down on your chest with every breath you take. The strongest will survive, but only if they're willing to bleed, willing to endure, willing to break. Do you think that because you've been beaten down, because you've felt the weight of the world bearing down on you, that somehow the universe will offer mercy? That somehow the suffering will relent? That it will give you a moment to breathe? Let me tell you something. Mercy does not exist in the world of pain. The world doesn't care about your tears, your cries for help, or your pleas for release. The suffering isn't there to destroy you, it's there to make you. It's there to carve you into something unbreakable. something forged in fire that will not bend to the whims of the world. It will burn you, and it will hurt, but it will also give you strength you cannot even fathom right now. Look at the others, the ones who quit, the ones who turned their backs and walked away. They couldn't handle the pain. They couldn't face the darkness that awaited them. The suffering crushed them because they thought it was a punishment. They thought that if they just gave up, if they turned their backs on the fight, they'd be free. But in doing so, they sealed their own fate. They chose the easy road. They chose to let the world break them. And now, they will fade into obscurity, shadows of what they could have been. They thought it was over when it was really just beginning. But you're still standing, aren't you? You're still here, still breathing, still fighting. And that is where your power lies, in your refusal to give up. Every time the world has knocked you down, you've gotten back up. Every time it has tested your limits, you found a way to keep going. You may be broken, battered, and bruised, but you're still standing. You may not feel strong right now. You may feel like the weight of the world is crushing you, that every step forward is a battle you're not sure you can win. But it's in these moments, in these trials, that your true strength will be forged. It is the ones who endure, who refuse to let go, who are the strongest. They understand that pain is not something to be feared, not something to avoid. Pain is the price of greatness. Suffering is the price of survival. To survive, to thrive, you must embrace the pain, use it as fuel to keep going, even when every part of you wants to give up. It's not the easy way, the quick way, or the comfortable way, but it is the only way to become what you were always meant to be. When you face suffering, you face yourself. Every weakness, every fear, every doubt you have will rise to the surface. The world will expose every flaw, every crack in your armor. It will tear you down until you are raw, vulnerable, and exposed. And in that rawness, in that vulnerability, you will find what you are truly made of. When everything is stripped away, when the world has done its best to break you, you will see that the only thing that remains is your will to survive. And that will, that relentless desire to keep going, is the thing that makes you invincible. So, what will you do when the darkness closes in? When it feels like the world is conspiring against you, when the weight of everything presses down, and you feel like you can't breathe? Will you let it consume you? Will you let it defeat you? Or will you dig deeper, find that spark within yourself, and rise above it all? The choice is yours. The suffering may be unbearable, but it is not permanent. The pain may feel like it will never end, but there is an end to it. The only question is whether you will be the one to make it through. The strongest don't come out unscathed. No one does. There is no easy victory in this game. No smooth path to the top. The strongest survive because they've been broken, because they've been pushed to their limits and beyond. They've faced death, they've faced fear, and they've faced the worst parts of themselves. They've looked into the abyss and found strength in the darkness. They've learned that true power comes not from avoiding pain, but from confronting it, from enduring it, from letting it shape you into something greater than you ever thought possible. And what of those who quit, who turn away from the fight? They will never know what it's like to stand on the other side of the suffering, to stand in the light after the storm has passed. They will never understand the strength it takes to survive when everything seems impossible, when every moment feels like it could be your last. They will never experience the sense of triumph that comes from pushing through the hardest battles, from facing the darkest moments and emerging victorious. They may find temporary peace, but it will be a hollow peace, a peace built on surrender. The strongest know that peace is earned, that it comes only after the battle has been fought and won. You're not weak for feeling the pain. You're not weak for struggling, for wanting to escape it. What makes you strong is not how you feel in the moment, but how you choose to move forward. It's in the moments when you want to give up, when you feel like you can't go any further, that your strength is revealed. When the pain is at its worst, when the darkness feels like it will swallow you whole, that is when you must push through. That is when you must dig deeper than you ever thought you could and keep going, even when every fiber of your being is screaming for relief. Because the ones who make it to the other side, the ones who survive, are the ones who refuse to quit, who refuse to surrender, no matter how hard it gets. And let's be clear, it will get hard. This won't be some smooth, easy journey. The road ahead will be filled with obstacles, with pain, with moments when you feel like you can't take another step. But that is when you must remind yourself why you're still here, why you've made it this far. Because it's not the easy paths that define us, it's the hard ones, the ones that break us down and rebuild us. It's the ones that push us to our limits, that test us in ways we never imagined, that show us what we are truly made of. That is where strength is forged. That is where survival becomes inevitable. You may be broken. You may feel like you can't go on. But remember this, the strongest are those who can still stand when everything is against them. The strongest are those who can rise again and again, no matter how many times they've fallen. You are stronger than you think. The suffering is not your enemy, it's your ally. It is the hammer that will shape you into the person you are always meant to become. Embrace it, endure it. Let it make you into something unbreakable, something that cannot be defeated, no matter how dark the road may get. The game has only just begun, and the question is, will you survive? Will you emerge from the suffering stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever? The choice is yours. But remember this, only the strongest will survive. Only those who can endure, who can keep fighting when everything seems lost, will emerge victorious. It's not about how many times you fall, it's about how many times you rise again. And if you can rise enough times, you will be unstoppable. You will be unbreakable. You will survive. You will survive. But let's be clear about something. The path to that unshakable strength isn't a simple one. It's not one paved with gold or bathed in light. It's a road carved through jagged rocks, a dark and treacherous trail that no one should willingly walk if they haven't been prepared to face the worst of themselves. But you're here. You're standing at the edge, staring into the abyss, and you feel that pull, that raw force calling you to dive deeper, to walk through the fire even when every instinct screams to turn back. And I know what you're thinking. You've already endured so much. The pain has already cut deeper than you thought possible. You've felt it. You've tasted it. You've waded through the muck of your own despair. But now, it's time to take the next step. The next leap forward into something darker, more dangerous. Because only in that darkness will you find the light. You're standing at the precipice, and everything inside of you is saying, don't go any further. Don't push yourself any harder. And maybe, just maybe, that voice is right. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't throw yourself into the fire again. But here's the truth that no one wants to hear. The only way to survive is to dive into the pain, to fall into the fire, to embrace the darkness. That's where strength is born. You've already been through hell. You've already felt the crushing weight of the world on your shoulders, haven't you? You've already faced loss, betrayal, loneliness, rejection. You've been battered by the storms, battered by the endless waves of grief and fear. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still alive. Not because life has been kind, but because you've endured. And that endurance, that refusal to break, has already made you more powerful than you ever realized. What the world doesn't tell you, what no one warns you about, is that the suffering never truly ends. Not for those who dare to walk the path of survival. But here's the thing, they don't see you. They don't see the quiet battles you fight every single day. They don't understand the storm raging inside your heart, the weight of your thoughts, the heaviness of your decisions. They can't comprehend the depths of your struggles because they've never been there. They've never looked into the abyss and felt it stare back into them. But you've been through it. You've seen the darkness. You've felt its icy fingers, and yet you're still here. You're still standing. Maybe you're not whole. Maybe you've been torn apart more times than you care to admit. But here's the thing. Every time you've been torn down, every time you've been broken, something inside of you has hardened. Something has changed. You may not see it. You may not feel it right now. But with every cut, with every bruise, with every scar, you've become tougher, unbreakable, stronger than ever before. When people look at you, they see the surface. They see what's visible to the eye, but they don't see what you've endured. They don't see the war inside you, and maybe that's good. Maybe it's better that way. Because the truth is, this journey isn't for everyone. Not everyone is willing to pay the price for greatness. Not everyone is willing to sacrifice their peace for power. Not everyone can stomach the brutality of survival. The ones who walk away, those who couldn't handle it, will never know the strength it takes to stand after the storm. But you've survived it. And that's what will set you apart from the rest of the world. The world doesn't care about your suffering. It doesn't care that you've been to hell and back. It doesn't care that you've bled and cried and screamed. The world moves on, indifferent to your pain. But you know the secret. You know that in the ashes of your suffering, you will rise. You know that the fire will not destroy you, it will forge you. What burns inside of you, the rage, the despair, the grief, isn't the end. It's the beginning of your transformation. It's the raw material from which your strength will be crafted. So, when you face those moments, the ones where you want to give up, the ones where you feel the pain is too much to bear, remember this: you've already survived the worst. The agony you've felt so far, as overwhelming as it's been, isn't the end of your story. It's just the first chapter. And you are the one writing the rest of it. You've been broken before. Maybe it was a relationship that fell apart. Maybe it was the loss of something you couldn't get back. Maybe it was the brutal betrayal of someone you trusted. Maybe it was the relentless march of time that wore you down piece by piece, until you felt like you could barely hold yourself together. But every time you thought you couldn't go any further, you found the strength to keep moving. Every time you stumbled, you stood back up, even if you were bruised and bloody. And this next challenge is going to test you like never before. The weight of it is going to crush you, and you're going to feel like you're drowning. You'll feel like you can't take another step, that the weight of everything, your past, your regrets, your failures, is too much to carry. But here's the thing, that's the point. That's the very moment when you need to dig deeper than you ever have before. That's when the real strength will emerge, the strength you didn't even know you had. When you're pushed to the edge, when the darkness feels like it will swallow you whole, that's when you find your true self. That's when you find what you're made of. That's when you discover the unbreakable part of you that's been hidden beneath the surface all along. You might not feel it now. You might feel weak. You might feel broken. But the truth is, those who are truly strong are the ones who have felt the deepest pain. They are the ones who have seen the abyss and chosen to rise above it. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to rise. You may not have control over everything in your life. You may not have control over the suffering that comes your way, over the forces that try to tear you down. But you have control over one thing, your response. You have control over how you face the darkness. Will you succumb to it, or will you fight back? Will you allow it to swallow you, or will you use it as fuel to light your way? The choice is yours. Every single moment of suffering, every single moment of pain, it's all an opportunity to become stronger, to become more resilient, to become unbreakable. The world will continue to throw challenges at you. It will continue to break you down, but it will never defeat you. Not as long as you keep getting up, not as long as you keep moving forward. So yes, you will survive. You will be unbreakable. But it's not because the pain will disappear. It's because you will learn to stand taller, stronger through the pain. You will learn to wear the scars like a badge of honor. You will learn to embrace the darkness because you know that it's not the end. It's the beginning of your evolution. You're not just surviving the storm, you're becoming the storm. This is the path of the unbreakable. This is the journey of those who refuse to quit. Those who understand that true strength isn't about avoiding pain, it's about conquering it. And you will conquer it. One step at a time, one battle at a time. You will survive, and in the end you will rise, stronger than you ever imagined. So take a deep breath, look the darkness in the eye, and move forward. Because the game is far from over, and you're only just getting started. In the end, remember this: the pain, the struggle, the suffering, it's not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation. Every challenge, every trial, every moment you thought would break you is shaping you into something unbreakable. You will rise from this. You will endure. And when it's all said and done, you'll look back and realize that the darkness was never your enemy. It was your crucible, the fire that forged the strength within you. So stand tall, embrace the journey, and keep moving forward, because you're stronger than you ever knew. And you will survive.